Welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. Today, Ken Gloss from the Brattle Bookshop in Boston will be joining us. First, though, we check out the weather and the news for you. Currently in Quincy, still have some clouds and spotty showers out there. It's still breezy, too. 45 degrees right now. It's about as warm as it's going to get today. Could see another pop-up shower or two later on this afternoon. Clearing this evening. Lows tonight will drop off into the lower 30s. That sets us up for a very nice Tuesday. Abundant sunshine, not too cool with highs tomorrow into the lower 40s, much less wind tomorrow as well, so it won't feel nearly as cold. Looks like a cold night tomorrow night, dropping down to the lower 30s, and kind of a cool and dry week for the rest of the week. Mid 40s on Wednesday and Thursday. Could be back up into 50 degrees here by Friday. Again, cloudy, rather damp, 45 degrees in Quincy right now. Checking out news for you today, 2 Quincy police officers were honored recently for rescuing a man from a burning home earlier this year. Officers Michael Brokemeyer and Sean Fitzgerald were commended for pulling the man from the home on Rodman Street in West Quincy in the early morning hours of August 29th. The officers used a sledgehammer to break down a back door, found a confused man in the kitchen, guided him out to safety. Police Chief Mark Kennedy issued special citations to both officers recently to recognize their bravery. The officers were first to arrive on scene, but Quincy firefighters quickly arrived and doused that blaze before it could spread to other properties. The fire had started on one side of the duplex. The occupants of the other unit escaped safely. The fire was believed to be accidental. Well, the biotechnology program at Quincy College is celebrating their recent state grant of $750,000. The Massachusetts Life Sciences Center awarded the grant last week as part of $1.82 million in grants to several institutions that offer biotechnology programs. During the event, student Justin Martin explained how the Quincy College program helped him turn his life around.
And I love it. I'm learning new things every day, and it's a difference between like working a job just to, get by and make some money, and actually having a career that, you could take very far, and doing something that's like saving lives and helping people, So like I felt like I had to make a change in the path I was going. To support my family. I had a son in 2021, so I'm like, I need to do something that I could, take me far, and something that I could do for a long time that's going to be beneficial for me, and at the same time, I'm helping people, and that give me like a lot of inspiration. I look forward to going into work every day, and I'm learning new stuff every day, stuff that, I never would have had the opportunity to be in front of had it not been for JVS, Quincy College, and all of y'all. So thanks for having me, and keep doing what y'all doing.
Grants were also presented to Jewish Vocational Services of Boston, Mass BioEd, and Mass MEP. The Mass Life Sciences Center says it's seeking to seed, enhance, and expand training programs that address critical skills and talent supply gaps facing the state's life sciences industry. Former Quincy Ward 4 City Councilor Brian Palmucci is offering Quincy Public Schools students the chance at a scholarship. Council President Noel DeBona made the announcement at last week's City Council meeting.
He's putting forward up to $1,000, and it's a nonprofit that he formed, the C. Palmucci Fund, in honor of Carlo Palmucci, which is his great-grandfather who first came to Quincy from Italy 100 years ago. It'll also improve it with the city. Anybody that's done any type of community activism work that's a senior, that's looking to, do the application, I guess I could call it. Just have to put it in by January 1st. And you could see myself or Jen. You can go through my email on the website, and it'll also allow other counselors, if you want somebody that wants to represent to you, like a senior that comes through you that wants to do the presentation in front of you, like a little bit of input from a counselor, like what they've done for community activism work throughout in the community. Could be Eagle Scouts, could be Girl Scouts, could be anything that you're looking to do. So I know a lot of the scholarships come in the back end of the year, but this one could come in the middle of the year if any of the kids are looking to further education.
Palmucci resigned from the city council in October of last year after being nominated by former Governor Charlie Baker to be an associate justice on the state district court system. Palmucci was unanimously appointed by the governor's council to an open seat in the district court system. He had served on the city council for 10 years. City of Quincy and the town of Braintree joined forces to present a Pearl Harbor Day remembrance ceremony on board the USS Salem at the Quincy shipyard last Thursday. Representatives from both communities spoke about the need to remember and honor the sacrifices made on December 7th, 1941. Braintree's Mayor Charles Kokoris said it was fitting to hold the ceremony on a World War II-era ship that was built at the shipyard.
Let us reflect upon the profound significance of this day, December 7th, 1941, is etched in our nation's history as a day of valor and sacrifice, when ordinary men and women rose to meet an extraordinary challenge. The USS Salem, a floating testament to the strength of our nation and the indomitable spirit of those who served, reminds us of the sacrifices made to secure the freedoms we cherished. Today we honor the memory of those who made the ultimate sacrifice and express our gratitude to the veterans who answered the call of duty during that pivotal moment in our history. Let us not only remember the events of the past, but also draw inspiration from the resilience and the unity displayed by the greatest generation. In their memory, let us reaffirm our commitment to fostering peace, understanding, and cooperation among nations.
Braintree Veterans Services Officer Vincent Fontaine joined Quincy Veterans Agent Christine Cugini in hosting that event, and former USS Salem crew member Eugene Lacey participated in that wreath ceremony. It's our check of news for you today. Coming up, we sit down with Ken Gloss of the Brattle Bookshop in Boston. Next.
I'm Bill O'Donnell, Register of Deeds for Norfolk County. The holidays are a time of joy, but for some, a time of stress. We see firsthand at the Registry of Deeds the struggles of people when it comes to mortgage foreclosures. A number of families in the county struggle to put food on the table. Realizing that 1 out of every 9 Massachusetts households is considered food insecure, the Registry of Deeds continues to hold its annual holiday food drive to benefit struggling families here in Norfolk County. We are asking for your help in collecting non-perishable donations such as canned meats, soups, vegetables, breakfast cereals, pasta, spaghetti sauces, along with household paper goods. To make a difference this holiday season, all you have to do is drop off a donation to the Registry of Deeds lobby, located at 649 High Street in Dedham, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. If you cannot get to the Registry of Deeds, please check our website at www.norfolkdeeds.org for a food pantry location in your community. Donations are needed throughout the year. Working together, we can truly make a difference. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Don Hart of the Hart Speech Foundation. We are a recognized 501c3 organization dedicated to providing advocacy and scholarship to the stuttering community. We provide funding for intensive speech therapy programs to allow severe stutterers to be able to achieve more fluent speech. Most health insurance companies do not provide coverage for this type of therapy, and it is our goal to ensure no one is denied this critical therapy. In recent years, we've realized that there are not enough clinicians that specialize in stuttering. And we have begun a scholarship for second-year graduate students to promote stuttering as a specialty. We also use our funds raised to support research into childhood stuttering, and specifically why it is that some childhood stuttering resolves on its own while other children's stuttering does not. And would you please go to heartspeech.org, and that's heart, H-A-R-T, speech.org. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. Ken Gloss of the Brattle Bookshop is joining us here on studio to talk about, well, about his story at the Brattle Bookshop and his family story, but also about a special appearance coming up here in Quincy later on this week. But you're lucky because we've got him here first. Ken, it's great to see you again.
It's always great to see you, and there's a million stories, because when you talk about books and old books, almost every book, somebody thought it was interesting that they published.
That's right.
And when you're dealing with people and talking with them, people are fun.
Well, you and I are a story. We go back a very long way, back to WJDA days, and Roy Lind before that at that same station too.
But that's one of the things. And when I come to the library, it's Wednesday, I think. It is definitely Wednesday, the 13th at 6.
Yeah.
I tell some of these stories, tell some of the things going on. I bring a few things, show them off, do question and answer, because I know what I'm going to say all the time.
Right.
Question and answer makes it fun. And then probably what draws people in is at the end of the talk, anyone who's brought any books, I look at them, give them a quick idea of the value. Most of them, actually it's surprising. Once in a while someone brings in something really valuable that's worth X thousands. I recently did one, and they had the first American black woman poet in the 1700s, Phyllis Wheatley, had signed it. Her first book of poetry, $75,000.
Wow.
But most people who bring things in, I have very nice ways to say it's not worth anything.
It's a lovely cover.
But what the surprising part about that is, probably 90% or more of those people are thrilled. They go, great, we don't have to worry about this anymore.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
We can give it to the grandchildren, the library.
Let the dog play with it.
Exactly, we can read it.
Yeah, well, that too, right.
So
yeah.
a lot of times people are just as happy when you tell them, don't worry about it, just
Right.
have fun with it.
Yeah. Tell us the story of the Brattle Bookshop, because it goes back a long way in your family.
It goes back, well, it goes back a long way before my
Does
family,
it?
back to the early 1800s,
Really?
1820.
I didn't know that, Ken.
But for all practical purposes, it was going out of business in 1949.
Okay.
My father was getting married. My mother had $500. With that, they bought half interest in the Brattle Bookshop.
Oh.
No, it was a dead, basically a gone business.
Mm-hmm.
This was 49. There was a little street where City Hall in Boston is now called Brattle Street. We've never been in Cambridge.
Okay.
The street doesn't exist anymore. It's where City Hall Plaza is.
Oh, okay.
And then we've had 7 different locations over the year, mainly due to urban renewal.
Yeah.
In 1969, my father moved to West Street, which is where we are now.
Okay.
We're an old wooden building, well, brick on the outside, burnt down in 1980, literally
Just
burnt down.
gone. Okay.
100%. Essentially no insurance. We rented for a while, and then we bought the building next to the lot, and we've been there since 1983. And I hope to do this forever. People ask me, well, what's going to happen? I said, well, I'll just live forever. Simple, easy. But I love what I do.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I go out to houses. It's almost like being Jim Hawkins on Treasure Island every day. And sometimes it's very rare and valuable books. Sometimes it's just good general books. But that hunt and that search and bringing back and finding something for a customer that wants it.
It keeps you going.
It keeps you going.
Yeah.
And like I say, I never plan on retiring.
So, born and bred in the Boston area?
I grew up in Dorchester.
Okay.
I went to high school in Boston.
Okay.
After college, I have a degree in chemistry from the University of Massachusetts.
Of course, why wouldn't you, right? Yeah.
Well, well, actually, going into a family business,
Yeah.
the hardest part was working for my father, and I knew I had something else I could do. And
Plan B.
Plan B.
Yeah.
And after college in 1973, I said I'd try it for a year. That was what, 50
years ago. Yeah.
And I don't regret it for a minute.
Wow.
And the one thing is, my wife, now that I'm getting a little bit older, she says I only work half a day. I get in at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
The store closes at 5:30 in the afternoon.
Oh,
That's 12
so
hours.
12 hours.
It's half a day. And-
Very good.
but I love it, and
Yeah.
that's probably the main thing.
Well, that is. Who was it that said if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life?
Well, there's a few days.
Yeah, well,
there's
yeah,
a few
yeah.
days in there that when the air conditioner doesn't work or the roof leaks, those are the ones that get me. When a
Right.
great book comes in, no, that's not
Makes it
working.
all worthwhile.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what's the status of the independent bookshop in America these days, Ken?
Well, I mean, we're a used and secondhand bookstore, so that's a little different than the new bookstores.
Okay.
But actually, it went through a period where the Barnes and Nobles and the Borders bookstores sort of put a lot of the general stores out, and then
Yeah.
Amazon put Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
And it's funny because as far as new bookstores, they're actually doing quite well.
Okay.
Because people now want the local bookstore.
Yes.
They want a store that will cater to the, I just saw you do something on the Shipyard, where someone you walk in and, do you have any books on the Shipyard?
okay.
Or the history
All right.
of Quincy
Yep.
or Boston? So they like the local. People also like shopping, just as a social thing. You meet
Yes.
other people, talk. So that actually is coming back. The local specialized maybe with events. Now a store like mine, which is used in secondhand, a lot of that is done online now, but the real thing that keeps me in business is real estate. We own the property.
Oh, okay.
And that's one of the key things for a used secondhand bookstore, because I assure you, it's not the most efficiently run business in the world. And maybe if we didn't own the building, we might not have been able to afford the rent.
Things would be
But-
different, yeah.
But that was very planned.
Yep.
It was very much a decision. So it's not by accident,
Okay,
but
yep.
it keeps me having fun, and the staff at the store, and my
Yeah.
wife works there, and it's fun.
I was thinking too, probably during the pandemic, tell me if it's true or not, but folks had a lot of time on their hands, so they could read books, right?
The pandemic, boy, am I happy that's over.
Oh, well, everybody is, yeah.
I'll be quite honest, the PPP helped a lot.
Personal protective,
Yeah,
yeah.
the loans. But one of the things that I think helped us a little is when you have a new bookstore and a new book comes out, let's say the newest John Grisham or Stephen King, if someone comes in and buys it from you,
Mm-hmm.
that's great. But if they bought it from Amazon, it doesn't, they get the same book.
Okay.
If you lose that one sale, you've lost a lot.
Yes.
Whereas used books, we get thousands of books in, but they're all different.
Yes.
They might be 500 years old, they might be relatively new,
Yeah.
but you only get one copy and you can only sell it once. So whether you sell it this week, next week, or 6 months later,
Yeah.
it sort of helped us through the pandemic. Also, one of the very interesting things, it was a tough time.
Yeah.
I mean, also, because we had a fire 50 years ago, we have a reserve fund just for emergencies. Now, we didn't expect a 2-year emergency,
Right.
but we do worry about that. But one of the things that's happened after the pandemic that we found very interesting is the older customer that we used to have, basically the older white man. They were in the office buildings. The offices are trickling back. There's still not huge numbers of tourists are
Oh,
coming back.
interesting.
All the people who couldn't come during the
Sure,
pandemic.
yeah.
But the other thing about that we find fascinating is the average age is probably 30 to 40 years younger.
Really?
Much more diverse, much younger.
Okay.
And it's greatly encouraging because
Yeah.
people in their teens, 20s, 30s, they love books, and
Yeah.
they're reading and studying, and
Well-
it means a good thing for the future of the business.
It's what helped vinyl records kind of make a resurgence also, right? As the younger generation thinking
Yeah.
that's something novel and unique,
It's retro.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And the other thing is books that are in the 1920s
Yep.
are 100 years old now.
Right,
So we're not dealing just with the 1820s or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah. Speaking of old books, you always bring some fun things with you, and I see some interesting tidbits on the counter here.
Well,
We'll have to talk
I
about.
brought one in this because it had some local interest.
Yep.
Santa the Lighthouse.
Okay.
And the reason I brought this in is this is about Edward Rowe Snow,
Oh.
Quincy
Yep.
character, to say
Put
the
up
least.
a little bit higher. There we go. Yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah.
But what he used to do is every Christmas he would hire a plane and fly out to the lighthouses along New England.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd drop off, what do they need in lighthouses where there's not a lot doing? They need books.
Okay.
Guess whose father gave him all the books that he would drop? So my father, the character,
Really?
would get together with Edward Rowe Snow,
Wow.
who was a character,
Yep.
and then they'd provide dropping books off at the lighthouses along New England.
Okay.
And it was a lot of fun.
And that's the story of that?
That's basically the story of, but you know, it got both of them a lot of recognition
Yeah.
and interest, and it was a Christmas thing.
Right.
And they had it.
Interesting.
This
Okay.
is, for anyone who remembers Filene's,
Yes.
this is a book that Filene's put out at Christmas time just to keep their name out there,
Yep.
telling where their stores were. This was a story. But one of the things that this always reminds me of, and I always wonder how the book got written and the movie got made, Miracle on 34th
Sure.
Street.
Yeah.
In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what PR person for Macy's
Yeah.
thought up writing a book
That's
and
true.
having a movie? You know, so you don't really think that it was an advertisement.
Right.
It's a fabulous Christmas
great
movie.
story, yeah.
But Macy's
But is front and center in the
And
background,
I'm sure
yeah.
Filene saw the same thing for the Boston store.
Oh.
They don't exist anymore, but it's a lot
They
of
were
fun.
hoping somebody'd make a movie out of that too.
Yeah.
Probably
Now-
never did.
Now, this, I'm going to divert completely away from Christmas
Okay,
on this.
all right.
And probably something that they wouldn't expect me to show on Quincy TV.
Uh-oh. All right. What? Playboy?
Playboy magazine. Now, if you notice, it's sort of a plain cover.
Yes.
And I'm going to open it up.
Oh.
Be ready
Do we
for
have
this.
to edit?
Playboy in Braille.
Seriously?
Seriously, Playboy in Braille.
Wow.
And it's about the writing. There are no
It's just the
pinups.
articles.
There are no pinups
no-
or pictures in Braille.
No centerfold.
It's actually an interesting thing. This one was
Now-
done in the 1970s.
Okay.
And there was, the United States government actually subsidized printing this. For people who were handicapped or blind
Sure, sure.
through the 60s, 70s, there was a big government push to do Newsweek, Life magazine, a lot of the newspapers and so on in Braille because people in Braille. And
You didn't have apps that could read it
good,
to you, you know?
Good
Yeah.
housekeeping. And there were a lot of people who were blind
Yeah.
who said, we want Playboy.
Interesting.
I mean, there were, you know, quite honestly, you go back into when Playboy started in the 50s,
Yeah.
and there were some great, great writers
Hmm.
who wrote for Playboy, and they wanted to have it and be able to read it.
Now, is that valuable? Does that have...
This one, when I first got it,
Yeah.
I didn't know whether it was rare or not. It came in with a large library, and it's the main value of this is every single time I've shown this to anybody, they smile.
Okay, all right.
Probably $50 to $100.
Okay, all right.
But there was a huge controversy in the Congress. Some of the more conservative Congress people in the 1970s wanted this banned, or at least they didn't want the U.S. government in any way
Subsidizing.
subsidizing
Isn't that
or paying for
interesting?
Playboy. It actually went to court, had a big controversy, and the people publishing it for the disabled blind won.
One, okay.
And so
I've
it's
never
done,
heard that story before.
Yeah, and well, why? The reason, if everybody knew about it, it wouldn't raise the same smile
Well,
and
that's
have
true,
a
I
lot of the
suppose.
fun of it.
That's true.
And that's, again, you find things like that. You find people who are, and you never know what they're going to be interested in.
Yeah.
We bought a large collection, and this is a number of years ago, of, and this is a story, and the type of story that I'll tell when I do the lecture at the library on
Oh, right, you're
Wednesday
here
night.
Wednesday night at
Yeah,
6.
yeah.
Yes, okay.
So, but we got a large collection of cookbooks in, a couple of thousand cookbooks.
Wow.
Some of them went back to the 1700s,
Really?
1800s, and some were more up to date. But there was a whole bunch of sort of these little pamphlets, like How to Make Jell-O, Bake a Chocolate Company, how to, they're small.
Yep.
and they're
Ocean Spray
very-
put out one for cranberries.
Yeah,
I know,
and they're very pretty and nice, and some are valuable, but most of them are a few dollars. And I said to my assistant, I said, put it out, put the whole box outside, $1 a piece. There are going to be some bargains, but we need to spend the time on the valuable
Okay,
books.
yeah.
They put them out on our dollar table, and we have $1, $3, $5 a whole outside bookstore
Okay.
when it's not raining or snowing.
Right.
About 2 hours later, a man comes running into the store with a pamphlet. I've been looking for this for years and years
No
and
kidding.
years, and saying it's hard to describe how happy and beside
Wow.
himself was. And he says, and it's only $1, and going on, and I finally look at
What
it.
was it? Yeah.
The title of the book was Coconuts and Constipation. You never ever know what's going to.
And where else would you find that?
But he was so thrilled, and he's still a customer. And anytime
there
it
you
gets
go.
brought up, he says, "Oh yeah, it's still."
He said, I feel great now.
So sometimes again, it's someone running in, and you have
Yeah.
a very rare and valuable book signed by an astronaut or
Right.
a Charles Dickens or something that's really high priced. But you can have just as much time collecting something very low, cheap, special, or whatever.
And you probably had as much fun seeing his reaction as he did to finding that book, right?
I keep telling that story,
Yeah.
and I love it. Yeah, and everybody who at work who was there, it was like they almost keeled over
Right.
laughing. And fortunately, he was a somewhat regular customer who. The fact that people sort of burst out laughing wasn't offensive to him.
No
It
one-
wasn't like
Right.
that we
Right.
had to be careful that we were going to offend this customer because he liked coconuts and constipation.
Right. What is the most valuable book, Ken, that you have ever appraised, that's ever come across your
Well,
hands?
let me start off by saying that I'll tell about a few things that I actually either have appraised
Okay.
or had. And a lot of times I deal with this all the time and with books, and you still get a chill up your spine. I got a call by a historical society, and I'm going to mention one locally that was fabulous too. But a historical society, they were loaning something from their museum to another museum.
Okay.
So they needed an insurance appraisal, which they just needed a number. And I'm a member, and I said, I'll do it for free, but I don't want to do it from your website. I don't want to do it from a copy. I want the original.
You want to see it, yeah.
And they said, no problem,
Okay.
make an appointment, came down. 4-page handwritten account of Paul Revere's ride by Paul Revere.
Wow.
So I'm sitting there holding
Yeah.
this 4-page document, reading through. They told me to get off my horse so they'd blow my head off.
Wow.
But a week after, this is the fact that that exists.
Yes.
And you touch it and
Yeah.
hold it.
Yeah.
Another time, and this was an appraisal.
No, wait, how much was that worth?
At the time, I think I appraised it at about $700,000.
Oh, my
It'd
goodness,
probably
okay.
be more.
Okay.
But I also got a call once on an appraisal for, they called me and they said, well, we have the Bible that was given to John Adams by the Amistad.
Yes, the Mendy,
yeah.
the Mendy Bible, yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
which
it's
is
at the Stone Library here in
Stone-
Quincy, yeah.
Exactly. But I got a call, so I got to touch it, hold it, look
Wow.
at it. And again, that was in the multi-thousands and thousands
Yeah.
of dollars. But the fact
Just
that
the
you
fact
can
that you can
actually
touch it,
touch it,
yeah.
or you can go to a museum and see it and hold it, and then learn the history behind it, just brings amazing things back. Now,
Quickly, because
these
we're
are
out of time. Yeah.
a quick
Yeah.
thing. The most valuable book that I have, and I will say,
That's not it.
well, this in a way is it. The
Oh.
Night Before Christmas.
Yeah.
I have a copy about this period, maybe 10 or 20 years older, of The Night Before Christmas that I have read to my children every Christmas Eve from the time they were little infants
Yeah.
to now they're in their 30s. Even to the point of one time recording it on YouTube because my daughter was in Texas and she couldn't miss this. Now my grandchildren,
Yeah.
I do that. One of my daughters lives in Nairobi, so I've got to do it 8 hours before.
Wow, yep.
That copy
Yep.
of The Night Before Christmas is the most valuable, most precious book that I
course,
have.
yep.
And one of the reasons I didn't bring that copy here today is my daughter would never let me bring it anywhere because she's afraid either I'd lose it, mislay it, or even worse, sell it.
Yeah. All right.
In any case, but you know, there's a million stories.
Right.
They're a lot of fun. The store's fun, and I enjoy talking about it.
I love having you here, Ken. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me and talking. And again, I do a podcast called Brattlecast.
Okay.
All these stories come to the library
All right.
Wednesday night.
Hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
Check the forecast for you for the rest of the day today. Kind of what you see is what you get out there. Clouds, maybe a shower, still kind of breezy, but mild, mid-40s, lower 30s this evening. And then we cool off and dry out for the rest of the week. Thanks again to Ken Gloss for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks to our crew. Thank you for watching. Friday here in the show, we'll welcome Quincy College back to the program. Meantime, it's our website for you, qatv.org. All of our latest programs. There's news and information, video on demand, live streaming, and more. For all of us here at QATV, I'm Joe Catalano. Have a great week.